The airport was loud, bright, and restless. Yet in the middle of all that movement sat a man who felt completely invisible. A powerful CEO, known for boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions, stared at the departure board with empty eyes, his expensive suit wrinkled from hours of waiting, his briefcase untouched at his feet. Success had taken everything from him except peace. And in that moment, surrounded by rushing strangers, he was more lost than he had ever been in his life. That was when a small presence stepped into his world and silently shattered the walls he had built for decades. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the most broken hearts can find light again, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Soul Tale. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. The CEO had arrived at the airport after walking away from a life that no longer made sense. His company was thriving, his name was respected, but his home was empty and his heart even more so. Years of choosing meetings over moments had cost him his family, his friendships, and his sense of purpose. That morning, he had signed papers that would hand control of his empire to others, not because he was tired of winning, but because winning had stopped meaning anything at all. As planes took off above him, each one felt like a reminder of all the chances he had missed, all the love he had postponed for later, a later that never came. Lost in his thoughts, he barely noticed the little girl standing nearby, clutching a worn backpack that looked too big for her small frame. She was alone, scanning faces with quiet panic, her shoes scuffed, her hair slightly messy as if she had been crying earlier. When her eyes met his, something unexpected happened. Instead of fear, there was curiosity, and instead of asking for help the way adults usually do, she offered him something rare and disarming: concern. Without spoken words, her presence carried the simple idea that two strangers could share the same confusion in a crowded place. The CEO felt something tighten in his chest. He had spent his life being asked for answers, solutions, directions. Yet here was a child who, in her own innocent way, seemed to sense his loneliness. He learned through nearby announcements and hurried staff that the girl had been separated from her guardian during a security delay. As minutes passed, he chose not to walk away. For the first time in years, he chose to stay. He sat there, grounding himself, keeping watch, making sure she was safe, even as his own flight began boarding in the background. Waiting beside her brought back memories he had buried deep. He remembered his own childhood dreams, the warmth of holding someone's hand when the world felt too big, the comfort of knowing someone would not leave. Those memories hurt, but they also softened him. He realized that somewhere along the way, he had become the man he once needed, yet had never been for anyone. That realization was heavy, but it was also honest, and honesty was the beginning of change. Airport staff eventually approached, and with careful coordination, the girl's guardian was found rushing through the terminal, tears of relief replacing fear. The reunion was quiet but powerful, and as the little girl walked away safely, she looked back once, offering the CEO a small smile that felt like forgiveness for a lifetime of emotional absence. In that moment, something inside him shifted. He missed his flight on purpose, not because he was careless, but because he finally understood that some moments were more important than destinations. He spent the rest of the day walking through the city instead of flying away from it. He called people he had ignored for years. He sat in a park and watched families laugh, not with bitterness but with a strange sense of hope. That night he booked a later flight, but this time he knew exactly where he was going. He was going back to rebuild, not his company, but his life. He began supporting programs for lost children and families, quietly using his resources not for recognition, but for repair. The lonely CEO slowly became a present one, a man who measured success not by profit, but by connection. As time passed, he often thought about that airport bench and the silent question reflected in a child's eyes. It reminded him that being lost was not a weakness, but an invitation. An invitation to pause, to care, to choose differently. The world did not change overnight, but he did, and sometimes that is where real miracles begin. If this story touched your heart, please don't scroll away. Stories like this live because of your emotions and your voice. Take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who feels lost, and subscribe to Soul Tale so you never miss a story that reminds you of humanity. Before this story ends, we have one special request. Please comment below and tell us what moment in life helped you find your way again, or if you are still searching, let us know you are not alone. The CEO never met the little girl again, but he carried her question with him forever. In a world full of noise, it was a quiet moment that saved him, proving that sometimes the smallest hearts ask the biggest questions, and the answer can change a life.